The Victorian Environment Minister, Ryan Smith, wasn't available to speak to us. But late today, he told a press conference that Tony Burke is grandstanding and cold weather will soon force the cattle out of the National Park anyway. I spoke to Andrew Broad from the Victorian Farmers Federation a short time ago. Well, Andrew Broad, thanks for joining 7:30 Victoria.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Victorian cattlemen have just 15 working days to get their cattle out of the Alpine National Park. Will they do it?
Well, we would actually argue that the federal government is overstepping its mark here. We believe our read of the Act is that it was a pre-existing land use, and the Victorian government really is the authority to make the call on this state and not Tony Burke.
So they're not going to do it?
Well, I think the issue at hand is, should we as Victorians who have elected a government with a pre-election commitment to return cattle to the high country be bullied by the federal government? We chose this government as Victorians. We expect them to implement their policies. This is one of them, and I think they should continue on with the trial.
So you're saying that cattlemen will refuse to take their cattle out of the park?
Well, I think this will be a discussion between the Victorian government and the federal government as to their interpretation of the Act.
So, but in terms of your members, your feeling is that they'll stand and fight?
Well, I think our members have every right to stand and fight, and that is because this is a trial. Let the trial run its course, and then we can look with some clarity as to what impact they have on reducing the fuel load for fires.
Tony Burke has promised to now evaluate the study on its own merits. Do you think the Victorian government has wrecked its chances of ever actually gaining federal approval, has mishandled this whole issue?
Well, I think the issue at hand is that people that have a commercial interest in managing the land, such as the farmers, also have an interest in good environmental management. And if we take away that commercial interest and we leave it up to government to run it, we see it's usually managed poorly. We see wild dogs, we see wild brumbies, we see deer, we see feral pigs, we see weed incursions, and I think it's very important that Tony Burke looks at the bigger picture about how he can contribute to managing these national parks rather than takes a cheap shot at 400 cattle on 25,000 acres. I mean, let's put this in some perspective.
But it was also a political promise, which is why the cattle got in so quickly over the Christmas period. Do you think it was a political decision or a scientific decision?
Look, I'm not sure on that one. I think the commitment was a pre-election commitment, and if we vote for a government that makes a pre-election commitment, we expect them to honour their commitments. When they don't honour their commitments, we get very shirty with them. So this is a government that actually has honoured the pre-election commitment. And I think we would have questions as Victorians whether, if a government is elected by us, whether Tony Burke, a federal politician, should be able to just wipe the floor of their pre-election commitment.
Andrew Broad, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Very good. Thank you very much.